Hello everyone and welcome to another exhibit speed build for Jurassic World Evolution 2. And actually, I'm going to show you two exhibits. Two for the price of one. And since the price is free, you really can't go wrong with this. Might as well give this video a like and subscribe as a tip. It's the holiday season. Come on. These two builds use an exploit that is currently in the game, but it could very well get patched out in a future update. So I suggest we all get the most out of it while it's still in, because it's really cool. I saw 29 Raptors do this on their channel with the Gallimimus, but I found that it also works with the Struthiomimus, Ceratosaurus, and Qianzhousaurus, as you saw right there. I've also gotten comments from people making it work with Albertosaurus and Metricanthosaurus, but I haven't been able to personally replicate that. The speed builds for this video are about using the aviary as an indoor exhibit with its own biome. And the biomes I'm making in this video are desert, which I'm starting with, and snowy tundra. Now for the desert, you can make this in any biome map that we have in the game, although it doesn't make a lot of sense to do it in the actual desert biome, of course, but you can do this everywhere using a combination of the sand and dirt brush on any of the maps, and some of the specific foliage for the herbivores, especially the cycads and some leafy climbers and fibrous ground cover, and of course add some desert rocks to finish it off. Another tip is to raise the terrain at the edge of the aviary to cover up some of the wall. That makes it look a lot better in my opinion, and for the desert you also don't want to use too much water for obvious reasons, so keep that to a minimum. I think using the sand tool and the foliage for the herbivores works really well in creating this unique looking biome that looks very different from the biome outside of it. You can even see the snowy mountains in the backdrop, but within the aviary it actually, I don't know, I can almost feel the warmth. I really like how this turned out. I think it's quite convincing, and I would recommend using the glass aviary to make it look the most convincing, because obviously in a glass aviary you can really pretend that you have the ability to regulate the temperature inside. Now for the outside that I'm working on right now, I also kind of use the warmer theme to really push that this is a separate area, this is a thematic area of the park. So instead of using gray path, which I used in other places of this example park, I used the fancy path because it's, you know, it's pink, it's warm toned, and I also used red flags as opposed to blue flags, which I used for the snowy tundra biome at the other part of the park. To make the desert biome aviary within your park stand out even more, you could surround it with snow if you're on one of the maps that does have the snow brush, or if you're on one of the tropical maps, you can surround it with a lot of tropical trees, really just to enhance the distinction between what's inside the aviary and what is outside of it. You really want to make that as apparent as possible so that the two feel very different from one another. And now we're moving over to the snowy tundra biome. This snowy biome can be made on any of the maps that have, of course, the snow terrain brush. So that's Washington State, Oregon, Yosemite, Northwest USA, Canada, and I might be forgetting some, but all of the maps with the taiga/alpine biome have this brush. To really make the biome within the aviary stand out from the rest of the park, I recommend that you don't use the snow brush in the rest of the park, or at least use it minimally, and that you turn off the weather so you don't get any snowstorms. That way it really feels like the snow is contained within the aviary itself, where the temperature is regulated to be below freezing. Of course, for the snowy biome, the Cryolophosaurus would have made more sense. It would have been perfect. You could have really made it into an Arctic environment. But unfortunately, the Cryolophosaurus is not compatible with this exit animation exploit. If you do use mods, obviously the Cryo would be a great pick for this. Considering the limitations without mods that I'm working with currently, I went with the Qianzhousaurus simply because it's the only other carnivore besides the Cerato that I have personally successfully gotten into an aviary. This snowy tundra biome is very easy to make. It's basically just snow, some rock texture, some placeable rocks, and I put in a little patch of trees just because I couldn't resist, but I didn't want to go overboard with that because then it, you know, you really want to make sure that the difference between outside and inside is as big as possible. So that's why I kept the foliage at a complete minimum. Here I'm just running the gyrosphere tour through it. Based on the previous speed build video, some people still didn't know that you can run tours through the aviary. Yes, you can. That's not a mod, that's just in the base game. Now again, for the exterior of this aviary, you want to sort of lean into the Arctic concept. Now I didn't go crazy with path art, like I didn't make a snowflake or anything, but I did use the gray path as opposed to the fancy path, and I'm also using blue flags to indicate, you know, the icy environment that this tour and this aviary viewing gallery have a view of. I really like how I organized the viewing gallery and the gyrosphere tour in front of this aviary. I think this is a pretty unique layout and it looks really nice. I will definitely be reusing this layout for future builds, and hopefully you are finding inspiration like that in these exhibit speed builds as well. Again, you don't have to recreate the whole thing. You can if you want to. Again, at the end of the video, I will be including overview shots and map view shots so you can recreate it if you want. But you can also just use tiny elements that you see within these builds and incorporate those in your parks in your own unique and creative ways and put your own spin on things. And I think that's really exciting, and I hope that way you can make some really interesting builds. If you are enjoying these speed builds, please give this video a like. I'd love to know if you are enjoying this series. I have a lot more ideas, so if you could use some more inspiration, a like lets me know to keep going, and of course subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future builds within this exhibit speed build series, and also other things that I have planned for Jurassic World Evolution 2. Now I'm just on with the final decorative work for this public square in front of the aviary viewing gallery. I really like using these particular planters with the trees in it because it breaks up the concrete a little bit because there's more foliage within the planter. Some lights, some tables and parasols because, you know, that makes it feel more lived in, more guest friendly as opposed to really utilitarian and really empty. And here I'm also adding where, you know, this particular spot of the park would connect with the rest of the park. So just a really simple way of the path curving outwards in both directions. And yeah, I hope that you will be able to use this aviary biome in your own parks. And here is the ending showcase of the two biome buildings that I've made for this video, starting with the desert. I really like how this turned out. I really like that the herbivore foliage that we have across all of the maps allows you to use foliage that is not naturally indigenous to the map that you're on. So that really allows you to play with different biomes within a biome, as I've done here. I think this one looks very convincing, but the snowy one I also really enjoy by keeping the foliage there really minimal as opposed to a lot of trees outside of it. It really stands out, and I think it's quite convincing, and I really enjoy doing this. I hope the exploit won't get patched out anytime soon, but I'm afraid that it is only a matter of time. So if you are enjoying these concepts, then I suggest you get to building these right away, just in case Frontier gets to it shortly. Again, like the video if you did enjoy this idea, and if you will be using it in your park, let me know in a comment down below, and subscribe if you want to see more, because I'm definitely not done with this series of exhibit speed builds. I think coming up next is probably going to be the Indominus Rex. I'm excited about that. Alright, thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and until next time, enjoy the game!